pleasant afternoon, everyone. I am Shandemay M. Dimisilio, and in this presentation, we are going to present our group's work. We will show you how we utilize Excel in creating general ledger, trial balance, and income statement. For the first requirement, enter journal entries into the general ledger accounts for Juan de la Cruz Consulting Company. We use this format. At the upper part, we have the account name and the account number. Below this, we have date, description, debit, credit, and balance. Then, we input the data from the transactions in the journal entries. We use sum function to get the total amount of both debit and credit. When the amount in one of the transactions will change, the sum will also change automatically. And since cash is an asset and it has a natural debit balance, so in the last column, specifically in the cell F19, we set the formula as equal debit minus credit. The same goes with the other assets, which are the following: accounts receivable, prepaid rent, office supplies, and office equipment. In addition, we use this formula for expense accounts as well, since it also has a natural debit balance. These are the depreciation expense, office supplies expense, rent expense, utilities expense, and telephone expense. But for the liability, equity, and revenue accounts, we set the formula to equal credit minus debit, since these accounts has a natural credit balance.
I am Kathleen Jean R. Arubo, and I am going to continue the discussion of Ms. Dimisilio with the general ledger. So for the accumulated depreciation, since it is a contra asset, we also set the formula to credit minus debit, because even if it's classified as asset, its natural balance is credit. Then for Juan de la Cruz withdrawals, it has a natural debit balance even though it is an equity. So the formula we set is equals debit then minus credit. So as you can observe, we highlight the total balance of each account. We use the color green to indicate that that account has a natural debit balance, and yellow for accounts that has a natural credit balance. In our general ledger, we put an additional feature where you can search for the account, then it will automatically give its balance amount. We add this feature to easily track the amount of each account. We uses the VLOOKUP function to make this feature possible. Now let's check if it's working. So the cash has a balance of 7,475 here in the table. So let's search for it in the search bar. It also gives same amount, which indicate that it's working. So to test, let's look for another accounts. So as you can see, once we type the account we wanted to know the balance, it will automatically show us the amount, and it's very accurate and same with what's in the table. So general ledger is undoubtedly important in accounting. It's like the foundation for making financial reports like income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. These statements are essential for assessing the company's performance, profitability, liquidity, and overall financial function. So that's all for the general ledger, and I will now pass you to the next reporter.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane, and today I'll be presenting a report on the trial balance of Juan de la Cruz Consulting Company as of May 31. So what is a trial balance? A trial balance is a useful tool in accounting that helps ensure the accuracy of financial records. It lists all the account balances in two columns, one for debits and the other for credits. As you can see in our data, under the debit column, we have the assets, which are the cash, accounts receivable, prepaid rent, office supplies, and office equipment, with their corresponding amount that we computed in our general ledger. When we receive or purchase an asset, we debit it because it increases our ownership or possession of the valuable items. On the other hand, our expenses include the depreciation expense for office equipment, office supplies expense, rent expense, utilities expense, and telephone expense, also with their amount according to our general ledger. So we record an expense as debit because it represents money going out of the business to pay for the cost. Lastly, we have Juan de la Cruz withdrawal recorded in the debit side of the trial balance. Juan de la Cruz withdrawal means it is the money taken out by the owner, which is Mr. Juan de la Cruz, for personal use. So when the owner withdraws money from the company, it doesn't affect the assets or liabilities. However, it reduces the owner's equity or the amount that the owner has invested in the business. So to maintain the balance in the accounting equation, the withdrawal amount is recorded as a debit entry. The accounts and amounts were utilized with VLOOKUP so that when there are changes in the account balance as determined by the general ledger, it will automatically be updated. So to get the total amount of cash from our ledger, we use the formula VLOOKUP, then click B9, which is the cash, then comma, go to general ledger, select from the cash, which is C11 to F19, comma, type 4, which is our column 4 for the total balance, then comma, and default false, then close parentheses, and enter. Then do the same process for the next accounts. So how did we get the total amount of our debit using the Excel? To get the total, we use the sum function to automatically derive the sum of debit. For our formula, equal sign, then sum, click the corresponding amount of our cash, which is C9 down to C24, then close parenthesis, then enter to get the answer. And don't forget to put the double line to the final answer, making it stand out and providing emphasis. We use the green highlight to indicate the total of the debit and yellow indicates credit for easy identification whether it is balanced or not.
The credit side. Total of 100 of accumulated depreciation of this equipment. The next is the account payable, so it has 1,000 credit, month of May 6. The next one is the notes payable. So it has credit of 4,800 from the month of May 3, the borrowed money with a note to purchase a computer for office use. Next, the capital of Juan de la Cruz. So from May 2, it has no credit, and consulting fees earned, it has 2,000 credit of month of May 13, they provide consulting services to a client. From a month of May 15, they provide consulting service to a client is 800, and the month of May 23, they provide consulting service to a client is 1,500. So we use the sum function to add all this credit, so a total of 4,300. Next is the depreciation expense office equipment. It has no credit. The office supply expense, it has 0 credit. The rent expense it has 0, and also the utilities expense and the telephone expense, it has no credit. So that's all. Thank you.
A pleasant afternoon to each of you, especially to our professor, Sir Alan. By the way, I am your Miss Alea May S. Fernandez for now, and Miss Fernandez will now discuss and demonstrate to you all how to encode our income statement featuring Excel. So I think everyone here are already knowledgeable about income statement since we've been encountering this since day one. So when we say income statement, it is a financial report detailing a company's income and expenses over a reporting period. It can also be referred to as a profit and loss statement and is typically prepared quarterly or annually. It depicts a company's financial performance over a reporting period. To prepare an income statement, we must analyze and report our revenues, operating expenses, and the resulting gross profit or losses for a specific reporting period. So as what we can see in our illustration, for Juan de la Cruz Consulting Company income statement, we have here the revenue and the expenses. For our revenue, we only have the consulting fees earned, while in our expenses, we got depreciation expense, office equipment, office supplies expense, rent expense, utilities expense, and lastly, telephone expense. All of these amounts are already computed in our general ledger as what Ms. Arobo and Ms. Dimicilio just discussed a while ago. In encoding income statement by using Excel, we can easily locate all of the data from our general ledger, and if ever there are any changes happen, it will automatically appear by using the equation equal sign, type VLOOKUP, open parentheses, then type B7, which is for consulting fees earned, our lookup value, then comma, then we will type general ledger, type C11 down to F101, comma, type 4 for our column index number, and default false, then close parentheses and enter. We will just repeat this process in getting the amount of our expenses too. We also get the total of expenses by using the sum function to automatically sum up all the amount. So, we will use the formula equal sign, then sum, highlight all the amount of expenses that are needed to total from C10 to C14, and you close the parentheses. Click enter. So that's why we got the 1,225 pesos. So here we will also do the same process for the net income. Just highlight from D7 down to D15 to get 5,525 pesos.